got to be a lifelong learner. And, so many people don't crack a book after high school. They just want things to be spoon-fed to them or entertained. And, if you're going to be successful, you have to continually be learning.
This is The Entrepreneur Way with Neil Ball. Unlocking the secrets of successful entrepreneurs 7 days a week. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter at Neil D. Ball. Napoleon Hill said the power of the mastermind is the driving force. To discover how you can unlock the potential in your business using the power of a mastermind, go to mastermindunlimited.com. And now, here is your host, Neil Ball.
Hello, it's Neil Ball here. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Entrepreneur Way. The Entrepreneur Way is about the entrepreneur's journey, the vision, the mindset, the commitment, the sacrifice, failures and successes. I am so excited to bring you our special guest today, Jon Toy. But before I introduce you to him, I have a little bit of trivia for you. Paul Bloom said, "Empty heads, cognitive science has taught us, learn nothing." The powerful cultural and personal flexibility of our species is owed at least in part to our starting off so well informed. We are good learners because we know what to pay attention to and what questions are the right ones to ask. The Entrepreneur Way asks the questions, so we all get the insight, inspiration and ideas to apply in our businesses. Jon, welcome to the show. Are you ready to share your version of the Entrepreneur Way with us?
Absolutely, Neil. Thanks.
Thank you for coming on the show, Jon. Jon Toy loves businesses that work for their owners, not the other way round. He has owned a brick and mortar business and he coaches other successful business owners and loves spending time with his family. He is the author of 2 books. He is a speaker and loves talking to smart business owners who want to grow. Jon, can you provide us with some more insight into your business and personal life to allow us to get to know more about what you do and who you are?
Yeah, Neil, I'd love to. First, thanks for having me on The Entrepreneur Way. I look forward to sharing some insights. And, as my bio said, I have just learned about business through the years, and now I'm trying to use the opportunities of what I've learned to give back while continuing to test what I'm learning inside my own business. I grew up in the United States in Oklahoma, a small farm area, and ended up going to school in Texas. Actually became a CPA, thought I would be a number cruncher the rest of my life, and realized pretty quick that that was not for me. Having grown up in a small business family, that was kind of where I thought the world should operate from, not cubicle land. So I made the switch pretty quick. Ended up actually purchasing a franchise, a sign and graphics franchise, and opened that in 2004. So I've had it close to 12 years now. And through that, I've just learned the ups and downs of owning a business, had good times, had bad times, and learned really ultimately how to make a business work for me as opposed to me working for the business, which is ultimately what every entrepreneur wants. At the same time, along the way, I was able to get very passionate about how to do that, how to put systems in place, how to market, find the right customers, and really just develop a business that I wanted as opposed to having to constantly be putting fires out and reacting. So currently, I still own and operate a bricks and mortar business here in York, Pennsylvania. And I also now am doing full-time coaching with a variety of clients that I've acquired and helping them to implement the systems that I've put in place that work time and time again in any different industry because there are universal principles that work. And then also I've written my second book, which just came out not too long ago, and I'm also doing some speaking opportunities. So it's a busy, great life, enjoying what I have, and pleased to share some stuff with you.
Great stuff. And what do you enjoy most about what you do?
I love working with other business owners. Not that I don't enjoy running the business day to day. That's always fun and doing things. But I just love talking to somebody who wants to get better and seeing them understand what I'm saying, seeing how they can apply it in their business, and then ultimately taking action. So that's what I love the most, is seeing people that I work with take action and see results, because everybody wins that way.
Yeah, it must be quite satisfying knowing that you've helped people like that. And what is it that drives you, Jon?
Ultimately what drives me is just having the opportunity to spend more time with my family and do the things that I enjoy, whether it be things that we're involved with my faith or friends, just being able to do things when I want to do them rather than be controlled by when customers demand me to do them. And it's something that I've had to work hard to get to, because ultimately in the beginning, owning a brick and mortar business, I didn't have that luxury. And so that's part of the transformation that's happened. But ultimately it's being able to have that time with family and friends and doing the things that I'd like to do.
Mm-hmm. And I suspect your answer to my next question is going to be partially answered in what you said there. So how do you relax when you're not working in your business?
Again, it's a lot of family time. I've got 3 young kids, so we enjoy just kind of hanging out, playing with toys, playing games, whatever their high level of energy wants to do. And I try my best to keep up with that whenever possible. But, in addition to that, I love reading. I'm a passionate reader and try to get through as many books as I can, because I know there's school is never out for the experts. So constantly trying to learn and get better at what I do. So generally those are the 2 main things. And then obviously my wife and I try and get away every now and then for some quality time together. So those 3 things keep me pretty occupied outside of work.
Okay. Just thinking about what you said about your business, Jon, and it's a franchise. So what do you think the advantages for you of having a franchise over having your own business that's not a franchise? Do you think?
Great question. Yep. So, the key thing with a franchise that's really helpful is for that person that doesn't really know a lot about business. I was quite a young guy when I got started, and if I didn't have a franchise, I would have probably fallen flat on my butt long time before, possibly even been bankrupt and nowhere to go. So having that system and having a way to do something, I was almost too stupid to fail. If you just follow the system with a franchise, you're going to at least get to the marginal level of success. So that really helped get things going. Now, there is a point of diminishing returns with franchise in the sense that we've eclipsed the volume where we begin to lose some of the payback that we would receive from the royalties that we pay into, but it's still a great network to be a part of. I still learn a lot, and the camaraderie from fellow franchisees is helpful. So it depends on where you are in your business journey. If you're buying a second business or looking to get into something and you have an extensive experience, then, franchise may not be the best route for you to take. However, just starting out looking for opportunities or buying one that needs a lot of work, then franchise are definitely a great way to go because you get that jump start.
So it's been a good experience for you then. I mean, I think with franchises, they sound like a good way of starting. I've never actually got involved in one, so I don't know. But it's like having a business in a box almost, isn't it, in some respects, because you're given everything to get going rather than having to figure it all out yourself, which is what you have to do if you set up from scratch and a whatever other idea you might have. So would you say that's a good summary of what it's about?
Yeah, I think so. And the support that you get from their corporate office is tremendous. So they're only a phone call away, whether it's technical issues or sales issues or marketing or ideas, and they're going to be there to assist you. So just not being on your own is a big one. And that's part of the reason why I do coaching now, is that being an entrepreneur can be a lonely world. Yeah. A lot of your employees don't understand what you're going through. Sometimes our spouses and family don't understand what you're going through. And so it's important to have that community that you can associate with. And fellow entrepreneurs are the ones that are going to get it. They're going to understand what's going on inside your head. And so a franchise helps you, get that faster. And then as you get smarter and bigger, you probably have to go outside the franchise community because you're less and less able to find those that have the same mindset as you if you're, really driven and trying to get to the top.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any entrepreneurial role models?
Yeah, gosh, that's a good question. I really, love reading about anybody who's in business, and more recently, I've been reading about. Obviously, go back to the icons like Steve Jobs and Richard Branson, and certainly they've set the model, but it seems a little more unattainable with the level that I'm at, things that I'm doing. So, someone I've followed for years is Dan Kennedy. He's a great author, speaker, and he's just created a whole system of how to make money both in brick and mortar and also for the solopreneur that's teaching others and doing things. So I'd say if anybody, he's probably the one. He's been doing this for 40 years, and he's got so much content out there that it's impossible to consume it all, but I try my hardest to get as much as I can.
Yeah. And Jon, can we just talk about the time before you were an entrepreneur, and can you tell us about the difficulties that you had to overcome when you started your business?
Sure, yeah. Now, being that I was young and jumped into a franchise, I didn't have a whole lot of experience to draw from. But, I was in a corporate environment. I was doing CPA work, being asked to travel quite a bit. Didn't have any children at the time, but certainly my wife and I didn't enjoy being apart from each other during the weeks, every single week for extended periods. So decided it just wasn't for me. And I was trying to look into what I could use my talents for to be an entrepreneur, and had several ideas that we were going to launch from scratch, and ultimately ended up doing the franchise because I had a family member who was also involved in it, and she was able to kind of be a mentor as well. So I think that's a key when someone's starting out to help overcome some of those challenges is finding a mentor who will be able to assist you. So before anyone launches a business, I would always encourage them to call at least 10, 15, 20, as many as you can afford to do, other business owners, and just ask them if you can pick their brain. Most of them are willing to if you're polite about it and respectful of their time, and you're going to pick up some key insights and probably find one or two that you really relate with that can be a key mentor to you as you grow your business.
Mm-hmm. And did you have any doubts that delayed you starting your business?
I really didn't. I was ready to get out of the corporate world. We were moving to a new location. So for me, it was kind of, we found the right plan and just decided to jump in. I was probably young and naive, so I figured I couldn't fail. So I think going in with that mindset really helped me.
Okay. And what mistakes did you make that slowed your journey?
Oh, man, there's not enough time to go over all the mistakes. But, I think, the crazy thing is for me, even coming from an accounting background, when you start a business, there's just so many things that are coming at you and so many hats you have to wear. Yet one of the two of the most critical things you got to always keep your eye on is profitability. So you got to make sure that you're profitable even in the beginning, and it's super hard because you have all this overhead depending upon what you started, and you've got a number that you've got to get to. So you're really trying to drive sales, and yet sometimes you're willing to take on projects that are not as profitable as they should be, therefore taking away your time, causing you to focus on things that are going to slow you down rather than keep you moving. So that would be one of my biggest mistakes is I kind of just took any and all business I could find rather than being a little more selective, making sure it was the right business and preventing my hunger from making bad decisions. And then that, of course, leads into cash flow, which is the other cause of business failure for a lot of folks, and understanding how the cash flows in and flows out. And if you're profitable, cash flow will take care of itself. But in times when you're not, it can really be a strain. I'd say every business owner I talk to, the two biggest problems they run into is cash flow and people. So, once you learn how to manage those two better, it makes your life a lot easier.
It's interesting what you said about time there. I think one of the things with a business is as you scale a business, you forget how much. You forget how useful it is to be able to sort of delegate and give other people responsibilities. And when you're a small business, you end up getting bogged down in small things that take an awful lot of your time. Whereas once you can start delegating those things to other people, it means you can start working at your business more than working in your business. I think that's one of the things that seems to come out from my experience. So it's interesting that you say that. So what are some of the things that you did before you started your business that would be useful tips to some of the listeners who haven't yet taken the first step on the entrepreneur way?
Yeah, I think one of the first things is you got to be a lifelong learner. And so many people don't crack a book after high school. They just want things to be spoon-fed to them or entertained. And, if you're going to be successful, you have to continually be learning. So if nothing else, if someone's considering it, I would encourage you, as I mentioned before, interview other owners, take the time and invest in that, and then also read books by famous entrepreneurs, about business in general, and learn what things are going to be out there, what challenges. There's so much that you don't know. And, I didn't really pick up on that until I'd been in business for probably 3 or 4 years. And then since then, it's like a drug. I just consumed by knowledge and learning more and trying to get as much in as I can. But if I'd have started that right away, I could have gotten further faster, I think. So that'd probably be the number one thing that I would say that I would recommend people do as they're starting to begin that journey.
That's great advice. Now, can we talk about your entrepreneurial journey itself? So can you tell me, do you think culture is important from the beginning in a business?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we talked about all the mistakes that have been made. I'd say that's probably one of the ones I goofed up on the most in the beginning. It wasn't It wasn't horrible. We had culture, and if you're going to have employees, culture is one of the key things that'll figure out whether you can keep the best people that you find. And there's a number of ways in which you can nurture that culture. The two most successful ones for me through the years that I've found is, number one, you just gotta meet with them more frequently. I think as a business owner, and probably because of our corporate experience, most of us are used to an annual review, and that's about it. We're interacting with our superiors and talking about things, but rarely are we getting critical feedback as to how we're doing, as to how we could help, or being able to give them critical feedback and have them actually listen. So one way to really boost that culture is just to meet with your employees or other folks in your business more frequently. I'm just this year trying to do it now weekly, which is a challenge because it consumes a fair amount of a day to meet with everybody, but I've already seen a difference that it's make just in spending a little bit of time with each one. Sometimes it's only 5-10 minutes, but just that time lets them know you care, gets feedback, and you learn things that you wouldn't otherwise know. And the second thing I've found through the years that really helps with culture is talking about the numbers. Employees like to know what's going on, and while there's always going to be that challenge of an employee not understanding a financial statement or profit and loss, they're just going to see a number and say, oh, well, you must be making millions of dollars, even though it's never the case. It is critical that they understand what they're working for and they can see progress. And I definitely think that helped boost our culture when we started doing that.
Okay. And knowing what you know now, is there anything that if you'd known it when you started out would have helped you to shortcut the learning curve?
I think yeah, absolutely. The number one thing for me would have been understanding that I'm not in the business of whatever I'm selling. And let me explain what I mean by that. So I sell signs and graphics, yet I'm not really in the business of signs and graphics. That's the deliverable. That's the product that people are buying. Yeah. If that's all I wanted to do, then I would be half as successful and not enjoying what I did. What I really am is in the business of marketing and selling signs and graphics. And so you have to understand that as an owner, that while the deliverable is important and ultimately what you may be judged against, the real thing you have to do is market and sell your product. And so once you become more educated on how to better acquire leads, what to do with them, how to take care of your customers and get them to buy more, you focus on that and let your team deliver the product. And even if it is still just you need to be focusing a lot of your time on acquiring new customers and nurturing those customers, and the deliverable will come with that. Because ultimately people are satisfied with your product, and you can probably do that in a lot less time than it takes you to really focus on how to get more and take care of them.
It's an interesting answer, that, actually, because I must admit from my own experience I've had a similar thought on that, because I think with a lot of businesses, if you start off in a business with something that interests you, inevitably as the business grows, you end up administering that business or organising that business, running that business and working at that business. And to some extent, the product is just one facet of that business, isn't it? I think that's what you're really saying there.
Yeah, exactly. Ultimately they're paying for the product or the service, but you as the business owner, as the chief executive, as the one who's driving this thing, if you're not focusing on how to acquire more customers and get them in the door to purchase that deliverable, you're going to go out of business. And so a great book is the EMyth, Michael Gerber. He talks a lot about creating the systems to take yourself out of it. And, I wish he would focus a little more on the marketing side of it and how to keep bringing them in. But he definitely talks about how the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker get into business and then realize all of a sudden I got a horrible boss, my customers are a pain, and I can't fire my only employee. So you got to be careful of that, just because you're good at something and saying I can make a business of this, and you probably can, but if you're not focusing on the marketing and acquiring of customers, you're gonna run out of money and opportunities at some point.
And how much does gut feeling influence your decisions in your business?
Well, I heard a really good quote that said, God doesn't give you the ability to make right choices. He gives you the ability to make choices right. So we're going to make mistakes. And, a lot of times you got to go with your gut because it's the only thing in front of you. But I would say it's a mix of data and gut. The more things you can track, the more metrics that you have, the better decisions you can make, and your gut feeling will become better and better as you go through. But in the beginning, you're flying by the seat of your pants and trying to do what you can to keep afloat and keep things running. It's a little bit tougher. But I think as you develop, as long as you have things that you're measuring and keeping track of, you'll know how to make that right decision the right time. And so, again, your gut will become wiser, I guess, if you could say that, and know what to do when you're there. But there's still a lot of times where you just got to go with that feeling of, you know what, this is the right thing to do, and then you just work to make it right.
Mm-hmm. Life is made of constant change, whether we like it or not, and many would say the only constant in life is change. Jon, how do you try to keep up with change?
Well, I'll go back to what I said about reading, and there's just so much information out there that I think if you're immersing yourself in things that are going on out there, you're going to be able to keep up with change. So I read a lot of publications. I subscribe to newsletters. I read books. I read the newspaper. So you start to see these things and you start to get a feel for what's out there, whether you're reading blogs or involved in forums. And you're going to see what some trends are, what things are out there. And so ultimately you got to be keeping an eye on that and then trying to see how it might relate to your business. Mm-hmm. You can't have the shiny object syndrome, so certainly you can't be just going after every new thing that changes out there, but you do need to analyze it and see how it might affect. And there are some advantages to being early adopters, but generally you can see how trends are affecting business and what they're doing with your competitors and with others, outside your industry and get a feel for what to do. So, but I think really the way to keep up with it is to identify the ones that might best lead to profit for your company and help you acquire more customers, and then test it and get out there and test it like crazy. And if it's not working, don't be afraid to just shut it off immediately and move on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm. And what is your favorite book on entrepreneurialism, business, personal development, leadership, or motivation? And can you tell us why you have chosen it?
Yeah, that's an easy one for me. I go back to the name I mentioned earlier. His name's Dan Kennedy. He's great resources on the internet and through his organization that he's developed. But he's written a whole series of books called No BS, and there's a variety of different ones. The top two that I've read, one was called Ruthless Management of People and Profits. And again, I'm not a ruthless person, so the title can be a little misleading to folks, but the concepts that are in there, if you own a business or you want to own a business, are critical. And they talk about creating systems for your employees and having checklists and accountability and learning from the very beginning that it's your business, not the employee's business, and they need to do it the way you want them to do it. And you don't have to be a mean person to do that, as I've discovered through my years, because that's not my style. Mm-hmm. He's a little more blunt in his book. But certainly there are ways I can do that and still have that accountability that is required, because what I want to have happen needs to be happening every day if we're going to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Everyone, when you have a busy life, listening to audiobooks is a great way to expand your knowledge in the time when you may be doing other things, such as driving or when you are at the gym. We have a special offer of a free audiobook of your choosing. To choose your free audiobook, go to www.freeaudiobookoffer.com. As long as you haven't already signed up, then you will qualify. Jon, what I'd like to do now is go into the future a little bit. And can you tell us, what one thing would you do with your business if you knew that you could not fail?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I would probably establish some sort of large-scale coaching group, and I know that I probably would not fail if I did that. It's just a matter for me of being able to find the right group of folks that are interested in what I have to offer. So it is one of my next steps that's going to happen. What I mean by that is I would have some sort of a monthly or biweekly call-in for everyone who's involved in that membership group. Mm-hmm. And they'd be able to learn the content from me, have some Q&A live, and then get a copy of the recording so they can keep implementing those things and options. And, it's a way that I can reach more people at once. I've got to be thinking about scaling. Mm-hmm. I can't do scale a coaching business by doing it one-on-one, or I'm just trading dollars for hours, and certainly that won't allow me to have the time with my family that I want. So that's really what's kind of next on my horizon, and establishing the systems to get me to that point.
Okay. Do you have a coach of your own?
Yeah, no, great question. And I do, absolutely. And I think that anyone who is a coach that doesn't have a coach, then, you got to be careful of because, again, going back to that lifelong learner, we've got to always be investing in ourselves. So not just reading, but finding out from people who have done it before you. And, really, people who, to say it bluntly, put their money where their mouth is, are the ones that are going to continue to have that knowledge. So I've worked with at least 3 different coaches over the last 5 years. They've helped me to get this coaching business started on the side of my my sign and graphics company.
Yeah.
And so having that has allowed me to focus on those items that I don't know about. And I'm consistently looking for further opportunities. I'm involved in a forum now, and so it's not a direct coach, but I have direct access to the person in charge should I choose to. And I've gotten so much value for it for, $100 a month. So there's varying levels of what it costs to get a coach, from thousands and thousands, which I've paid, to, less than $100 a month. And everyone needs to find the right fit and not be afraid to move on from that to a different coach or group once they have kind of maxed out on what they receive from that content.
Mm-hmm. Do you have what's your opinion on masterminds? What do you think of those?
I'm a firm believer. In fact, I run a local mastermind here. And for those that aren't familiar, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, talked about it as one of the key skills in developing yourself and becoming successful. And really, a mastermind is getting 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 people together and allowing each other to work on your problems, because so many times we are so attached to our business and our problems emotionally that we can't see what's going on. And that's where the mastermind really helps out. So, for instance, my local group, I've got 8 members, and each time they'll get a 15 to 20 minute, we call them profit seat, and they're able to sit there and tell you about some challenges they're facing, and everyone asks questions and offers advice and ideas, and then they leave and implement the information. And every month they go away with very helpful insights as to how to move their business forward.
Mm-hmm. And what skill, if you were excellent at it, would help you the most to double your business?
It's really going to be the delegation and implementation of things that I shouldn't be doing. I've hesitated on that. I'm hiring a virtual assistant to kind of help me with my coaching side so that I'm not doing some of the things. And, I'm not excellent at it right now. So as I get more excellent at that and the training and management of someone who's not in front of me, which is a different concept to me, I know that I will be able to double my business, because I'll stop doing those $10 an hour tasks and start focusing on the marketing and selling of my services.
In 5 years from now, if a well-known business publication was publishing an article on your business after talking to your customers and suppliers, what would you like it to say?
I think I would like it to say that all of my customers were able to dramatically grow their business and change their lifestyle. I believe that every business owner should have the ability to have fun, to have freedom, to have fortune, and to be able to practice their faith. And so those 4 F's together are what I want everybody to accomplish. And so I try and work on that with my customers, and I hope that they're seeing that, and that as they own their business, they can achieve those dreams as well. So I would want them to be able to attest that the things that I taught them and helped them do inside their brick and mortar business gave them that opportunity. And then inside of my sign and graphics, I would want my customers and suppliers to say that we had the best service, the best relationship with them as a provider, and that they never even were considering a competitor, because they valued the information and the product that we provided.
Mm-hmm. We are now at the part of the show where you share 3 golden nuggets with us. So, Jon, what is your favorite quote, and how have you applied it?
I've read so many quotes, it's hard for me to kind of narrow that down to one.
Okay.
But, I think that if there was one quote that I learned from a local author and speaker here in the Pennsylvania region, his name was Charlie Tremendous Jons. And one of the things that he said is that you're the same person 1 year from now that you are today, except for the books you read and the people you meet. And when I heard that quote and why it hit me is I thought, I'm always out networking. I'm meeting new people. I'm growing my customer list, but I wasn't reading at the time. And so I was the same person except for those people that I met. And a lot of times when you meet people, you may get business from them or have a relationship, but it's not really changing me as a person. So I started reading, and now when I combine those two, I have the double effect where I'm learning from the reading and it's changing me as a person every day. And I'm meeting new folks that are teaching me things, such as yourself and others that I'm involved with here locally, and customers that I work with. And I learn things from those as well. So it helps me to continue to change. So you're the same person 1 year from now that you are today, except the books you read and the people you meet.
That's a pretty great quote, that, isn't it? It is a great quote. Charlie Tremendous Jones comes up with some good stuff. So, Jon, do you have any favourite online resources that you can share with us that would be useful?
Yeah, certainly. I guess I would say a productivity junkie. I love to just get stuff done and to keep things moving fast. And the only way to do that is to have, tools and resources that you use. So I'll share one that is not really a online, and then two that I use online that I'm sure many folks may be familiar with. But the offline one that I use is a new journal I picked up called the Self Journal, and it's based upon a 12-week planning process. And there's a book out called 12-Week Year by Brian Moran. It's a great book, helps you to kind of look at your year in terms of 12 weeks instead of 12 months, and you're able to get a lot more accomplished when you focus on one or two big goals over that period. So this journal allows me to script out every day, which I was already doing, but I was doing it electronically. So I went back to the pen and paper, kind of gives you a chance to take notes, jot down your goals for the day, your top 3 things, and it's all laid out in a real nice fashion. The website is called bestself.co. bestself.co. You can pick up the journal. They're great. But then online, 2 things that I use every single day that are very helpful for me. One would be Evernote. It's a great way to capture all of your thoughts. It's a free application, or you can pay to upgrade, very minimal cost to upgrade to the premium version. And you can just copy things in there. You can send web pages to it. It basically becomes just this huge knowledge database that's searchable. And I just try and throw everything in there and then organize it as I get chance to, so that I have those resources at my fingertips when it's time to find them. And then, of course, file storage. Gosh, it's so hard to keep up with all the files and the things that are going on. So I use Dropbox for just about everything. I upgraded the premium, and there's so much space that all our photos are there now, my business files, and I try not to save anything on my computer. Because Dropbox allows me to keep it all in the cloud and backed up. So those would be my 3 resources that can help any business owner get more done.
Yeah, I mean, backing up to the cloud is obviously a very wise thing to do, isn't it? Because
absolutely,
you just don't know what might happen, and the worst thing that can happen is you lose everything on your computer. So
it happens too often when there's very inexpensive resources out there.
Yeah. And what is your best advice to other entrepreneurs?
My best advice is control your day, because if you don't, then others are going to control it for you. And one of the key reasons why people don't control their day is they don't have the goals in front of them enough to keep them motivated to not want to have downtime. So I look at my day and I don't schedule downtime. I have all the things I got to get done that day blocked off in 30-minute, 1 hour, 2 hour increments, and I try and have a start time and an end time to everything and stay focused on that task. So yes, it makes for maybe not as exciting a social life when it comes to work, but I'm not really at work to socialize. I'm here to get stuff done and keep my goals moving. So that's my advice. Entrepreneurs' time is very valuable, and if they let others creep in and take over their time, they're not going to get those things done, and they're going to be the ones sacrificing other time outside the business hours to take care of that.
Mm-hmm. Everyone, if you didn't manage to get a note of Jon's favourite resource or his favourite book, you can find the links on Jon's show notes page. Just go to theentrepreneurway.com and search for Jon or Jon Toy in the search box. Jon, is there anything else that you'd like to add about your business?
No, I always love to get feedback on the book I've put out there. It's pretty simple to read and comprehend. I just want to know if it's clicking with other business owners. It's called Geared for Growth. Mm-hmm. You can pick it up on Amazon for those that might be interested. It's a very quick, easy read. It's written as a story versus facts and figures, so you kind of get pulled into the story and can relate to the business owner that's going through things there. And I'd love to just get feedback from that. But, again, I go back to, you heard me say it a lot, but reading is a key thing. So I hope that most people who are in business or considering being in business know that all leaders are readers. Mm-hmm. And so it's important to keep up with that.
Yeah. Jon, it's been an honour having you on here. In fact, it's great having a perspective from someone who's got a franchise but is also doing other things as well. So thank you for sharing your wisdom and your ideas. You've certainly been inspirational for us, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Neil. I appreciate the opportunity and wish all your listeners the best success in the coming year.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Entrepreneur Way. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter @Neil D. Ball.